you haven't heard about Anchor, it's simply the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. They're creative tools that allow you to edit and record your podcast right from your phone or your computer. They're distributed to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more platforms for you. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's going on, podcast family? Want to thank every single listener out there tuning in to the Stocks is Talking podcast with Ibn Getz. Very quick disclaimer, everyone. Please keep in mind, Ibn Getz, we are not financial advisors, people. We are simply two guys that love investing and we love to talk about it. At the end of the day, it's important to trade at your own risk. It's important to do what's best for your portfolio and always use discretion when trading in the markets. Welcome, world. Welcome to another edition of the Stocks is Talking podcast with Ibn Getz. I'm your co-host, Ib. Getz, what's going on?
What's popping?
Hey, man, everything is popping. How you feeling, man? How was Mother's Day weekend? How you feeling? How you living?
I'm chilling. Everything was good. How about you?
Man, everything was good. Took a little trip. Went out to Maryland, saw my moms, hung out. Back home in New York, and I'm ready to pod. I'm ready to get it going. Episode 7, let's do it.
All right.
First things first, Getz. You know we got to talk about what everybody's been wanting to know. Everybody's been waiting to see what's going to happen with Doge. Elon Musk, Saturday Night Live. Is he going to say something? Is he not? How's it going to impact the crypto? Excuse me. Right. It happened, Getz. It happened, and I feel like you called it. You said it has the potential to be a flop, quote unquote, just like Doge Day was. I think we both kind of referenced it.
Right.
And what happened?
Yeah, it was a flop. You buy the rumor, sell the news.
And that's and it's crazy because it's literally, I think there's a few things we can take away from it. And let me know your thoughts. When it comes to buy the rumor, sell the news, that was the epitome of it, was it not? And I don't know if that was episode 1 or 2 where we talk about buy the rumor, sell the news. The rumor for the last few weeks has been what?
The SNL, Elon Musk.
SNL, Elon Musk. He's going to pump Doge. So everyone tried to buy in, right? Everyone wanted to get in to ride the wave. So everyone bought the rumor. And as the rumor kept building, what happened to Doge? At some point, it got to 72 cents, 74 cents.
Yeah.
All off the rumor. So if you want to use the logic of the buy the rumor, sell the news, come Saturday night, you actually wanted to sell if you're going by that philosophy to a T. Because what happened and here's the crazy thing, he pumped up Doge quite a bit on the show. He called himself the Doge father. He kind of broke down what crypto was, specifically pointed out how Doge was running up. But what do you think?
He also called it a hustle, though.
He called it a hustle, Getz. And that's what I think. And it's so crazy when it comes to investments, stocks, cryptos. It's the little things that the investor will hear and make moves off. People aren't making... After it happened, people aren't making moves because he called himself the Doge father or because he said Dogecoin was going up and Doge to the moon. All these things that he said, people reacted off of that one little piece at the end of one of his skits where the guy said, "Is it a hustle?" He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty much a hustle." And that's what everybody took to heart.
Right. Right. But he also basically compared it to the dollar. So, I mean... I think people didn't really catch that, because he's basically saying the dollar's a hustle. If Doge is a hustle, so is the dollar.
Exactly. So when you think about it, I feel like people jumped the gun, or major investors who were in it, jumped the gun and sold off because he said this hustle piece, but they didn't take it all into context, you know?
Right. I mean, but
feel like
the people who sold those, I feel like those are the people who were trading it, and you can watch it. You know, if you watch the show and then you watch the price at the same time, you could watch it moving the whole time. You know, up and down depending on what he was doing or saying. You know, but the episode, as far as for Doge, it was a flop. It wasn't hyped the way people thought it was gonna be.
Right.
And it is what it is. But I'm still holding, because my thing was, if I'm gonna let it go, I would have sold it when it was in the 70s. When you seen it testing that number over and over, it wasn't breaking it, then it was it was time to sell.
So I feel like another strategy comes into play, Gets. Something that we talked about on episode 2, where we talked about you have to know who you are as an investor.
Right.
You have to know who you are as an investor, and when you're investing in a certain stock or crypto, why am I investing in it? Am I investing in it for the short term or for the long term?
Right.
So even with something like Doge, yes, everyone wanted to see it jump up to $1. That didn't happen. However, look at Doge. It's at, let's see what it's trading at the moment.
46 cents.
46 cents. Now, if you look back 2 weeks ago, we hadn't been seeing 40 cents at all.
Right.
We were seeing between 25 and 34, 35, 36. Then it kind of got over 40 cents and kind of took off because of the rumor. It got up to 70, 74 cents.
Right.
Now it's had a nice pullback, but it hasn't consolidated so much that you're now back to square one, depending on when you got in.
Right.
So
and you also, we saw this level before the run up to the 70s. We saw these 40s. We saw the 40s, and then it came back down. It went all the way back down to 16 cents.
Exactly, and that's when I bought more. Yep.
Right. And now it ran all the way up to the 70s. It's back down to 46, and we've seen it. Every time it's dipped below 50, it's come back to that 50 number. It's in consolidation right now. I mean, if it dips lower and it continues, breaking that, because around 50 is kind of the level. It's kind of the support. So if it keeps going below it and staying below it, then maybe I'd be worried. I mean, honestly, at this point, I'd probably just, wait. If I see it keep testing it and keep breaking it, then I'm gonna wait and buy some more on the dip. But I mean, where it's at right now, it's still close to that 50 number. I actually just was talking to one of my kids about it the other day, because they asked me about it, and I said, if it's that 50 level seems to be holding. So if it dips below it for a second, I'd be inclined to buy a little. Because it keeps going back above it, going back towards 60.
Right.
Like you said, it's consolidating, and the supports actually have been holding up pretty well. If you were trading it, then you should have traded it. You should have been out.
Exactly. And for me personally, I'm not trading Doge. I'm holding Doge. I'm looking at it as a long term.
Right.
I don't really want to trade for another year or two, to be honest, because I want to really wait and see what this does. Like, there's a lot of new, I guess the trigger word with cryptocurrency is, what's the utility?
Right.
And it seems like the utility for Doge is it's being used as a currency.
Right.
You can go to the Dallas Mavericks and buy tickets. Elon Musk, I think he just put out something after the SNL thing that they're gonna start accepting Doge for SpaceX or something. I'm not sure if you heard about that.
Yeah, there's just for that one flight, as far as I know. But
for that one flight.
Yeah, that flight to the moon. They're accepting the company's paying in Doge. It's a done deal. The company's gonna pay in Doge. So I mean, that's that's a lot of money to pay in Doge.
Yes.
So yeah, it's being used as a currency.
Yeah. So when I see that there's a crypto being used as a currency and it's literally about to go to the moon, why would I sell at 40 cents?
Right.
That's just me speaking for myself. Again, we are not financial advisors where I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I'm doing personally. These are my thoughts, and that's kind of what I'm sticking true to. One of my homeboys actually hit me up today. Like, hey, are you selling? Like, Doge tanked. I was like, well, he was like, hey, I'm losing X amount of money. I was like, okay, well, I'm not losing money currently.
Right.
He was like, how are you not losing money? It's down to 46 cents. I'm like, right, well, my average cost is 24 cents. And he was like, "Oh no, you know what? You're right. I'm not actually losing money in general. I'm just losing money for the day." I'm like, "Yeah, that's
you're
the
down.
ups
You're
and
down
downs.
from
That's
the
the ebbs and
highs.
flows." Yes,
Right.
you're down from the highs. So yes, I'm sure if I look at it, I may be down for the day, but in general, I'm up on Doge.
Right.
And it's a long-term investment. It's a long-term hold. So I just told him, hold tight. You know, like don't panic unless you really want to get out, but don't panic.
Yeah. Hopefully, you told him that you're not a financial advisor as well.
Always, that's understood. You already know. But
it's understood till them lawyers get called.
Don't do that. But and I'm ready to fight a lawyer. I was a paralegal, cuz. So I'm ready for all that. Yeah. I'm multifaceted, as you know. So I'm not worried. But so yeah, we had to touch on the Doge thing because it was a huge topic. What were your thoughts on how he shouted out Doge though? Because I felt like he didn't tiptoe around it because I wasn't sure if he would have built up the hype in anticipation and then not say anything. But they actually did a whole segment talking about Doge.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
I thought it was interesting, but I thought for the most part, for most of the night, I felt like he did tiptoe around it. Like he was trying not to pump it.
Right.
Until that segment. But then with that segment, he called it a hustle. So, you know, that wasn't the best look. You know, he said, you know, he said a lot of good things in there, but
he did.
He also called it a hustle. So, I mean,
but to your point, he also, in context, he called the dollar a hustle.
Yeah, but like you said, it's people don't look at the whole context of the thing. If you look at the market we're in right now, right, everybody's blowing earnings out the water, and the markets and their stocks are dropping because they say, you know, when they give their guidance, you know, basically what they think they're going to do in the future, they say, well, there's a semiconductor shortage, so, you know, we can't meet demand. Well, then the stock tanks, right? But it's like they just blew earnings out the water, and they're saying the demand is so high that they can't meet it.
Keep up. Right.
Yeah. You know, they got good problems. And
but yet the market is still, right.
Yeah, they're getting punished for it. So it's the same thing. You know, you know, it's irrational.
Which it's irrational, but it's irrational for the time being.
Right.
And as an investor, you have to understand you're going to go through these ebb and flows in the market where it's just irrational thought processes. You know, earnings are being blown out, stocks are still dropping. Elon Musk shouted out Doge on Saturday Night Live, and it drops. So that's just in the market we're in. So now you have to look at what's my conviction, which we talked about in the last episode. What's my conviction on these different stocks or cryptos? Because that's going to allow me to stick in it for the long run, get in and out and day trade it, or just trade it quickly. Or do I want to just stay out of it completely because the markets are irrational and I don't know which way is up and which way is down.
Right. You should have had your plan before you bought in. I mean, you can do both. You could be an investor and still trade. But you should have, if you bought, whether you bought a crypto, whether you bought a stock, before you put that money into it, you should already have your plan for that in particular security or crypto. You know, if Doge was a trade, then you should have treated it like a trade. You know, if you own a stock and that stock is a long-term hold, then and it's dropping now, why you sell it? You know,
if anything, buy more. If your conviction is that of, I see this for the future, so I want to be in it for that long term. When you see the pullbacks, you buy more.
Right.
For me with Doge, I'm not buying more right now because it hasn't really dropped enough for me to buy more.
Right.
Like again, I'm in at 24 cents. It's at 46.
Right.
So if I buy more now, that's just going to increase my average cost. I don't want that. I want to bring that down, not bring it up.
And you know, if it wasn't so risky, as far as being able to trust the exchanges, as far as them being able to execute my trades, I would consider trading Doge. You know, not talking about my holdings of Doge already, but I would consider buying on these dips, buying large amounts, and then selling it every time it had a little run up. You know, and just making a little money that way. But now you can't even trust the exchanges, because even during that episode of SNL, exchanges were going down. Doge, there were times when you could not trade Doge, and it wasn't just Robinhood. It wasn't just Robinhood.
That's exactly what I was going to call out. So it was more than Robinhood.
It was more than Robinhood. There was Robinhood. I think Weibo might have had an issue at some point. Robinhood's always their issues are ridiculous, but I think they might have been the worst of it. But I want to say them and Weibo, and there might have been a couple other ones, but there was a lot of issues, and I know it's because of the trading volume. These companies that are so
trying to get out.
Yeah. You have all these companies they're basically all startups. None of them have the capital or the infrastructure, to handle the volume that they're seeing right now. But they want to be part of this hype and make that money, so they all are. They let you trade Doge and stuff like that. But realistically,
until too many people want to trade it and it crash, that's so silly, yo.
Yeah, so none of them realistically, if you can't handle that volume, that volatility, then you shouldn't be offering it.
Exactly.
But they're taking advantage of this hype. So on this huge day, you might end up stuck. So if I had decided to put in 1,000, 10,000, whatever it was, right? I could have ended up stuck.
Yep.
So that's not worth the risk to me.
No. I don't think it's worth the risk for anybody out there. Especially imagine if you're somebody kind of new to the game. Your first time trading, and you try to trade in on that at that moment, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. First impressions are everything.
Right, and then you're out the game. You're gonna decide you don't want to do this.
Yep, like I don't want to do this. It's too this. It's too that. I tried it. It didn't work out. Like woo, woo, woo. Yeah. And now there's an investor that will never invest again, or a potential investor.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, especially for someone starting out. Because especially if someone's starting out, really. I mean, you can if you're starting out and that's what you want to do is trade, cool, whatever. But if you're just starting out, I mean, maybe the best thing for you is to be just investing, but they don't understand these highs and lows, and then they have these exchanges that are taking advantage of people, So now all they see, they jump in on the hype, and now all they see is red. Right. So now they decide that they don't want nothing to do with it, But in the long run, which I know everybody's impatient, nobody looks at it, but in the long run, investing could have changed their life. It could have gave them their retirement, their freedom, But it's these exchanges and these brokers taking advantage.
Yep. And it happens in a lot of other industries. It's not just the investments or stock exchanges. A lot of industries take advantage. It's an age-old thing that's been going on for decades, centuries.
Yeah.
But
you gotta understand that that's what they're doing though, and don't fall for it.
Yeah, you can't fall for it, but you still want to have that resolve to keep going, to gain more information, to gain clarity, because there is great potential in this investment thing. Once you get good at it, and once you know what to look for, you have the right research at your disposal. And that's why we do this pod every week, just to kind of share these insights on what's out there for people to help, to encourage, and to just shed light on what we're going through, And we're talking about Doge because I want to switch over really quickly. There's a new one. They call him the Doge Killer. I don't know if you heard that phrase, but what is it? Shiba is the new hot crypto. Yeah. Now, I don't know if this one has a utility or if this is just another meme coin, but it's been hot in the stock streets or crypto streets.
Yeah, as far as I know, it has no utility. Somebody sent it to me. They sent me a screenshot of it. And it actually, in the screenshot, I think it was supposed to be like the description, of what the utility is. And it was nothing. It was, I forget what it said, but it was basically, there's no utility. It was another like meme coin. But, so I said, all right, cool, and I bought some, and it's been moving. I'm up over 100%. Somewhere between 120, 150%, something like that.
How did? And I'm gonna put you out there on this pod right now. How are you telling me you have? Because I just sent you a story about it today. You didn't respond to my text.
Yeah, that's why.
then we jump on the pod, and you're telling me you're up 100%.
Yeah.
Because someone told you, like, what's up? I thought we were partners.
We are. It's like if somebody brings you some food and I check it for the poison. That's what was happening. You know.
Okay. So you just testing it out.
I was testing it out.
Okay.
Right now, you know what I'm saying? I don't taste no poison. You know.
It went down nice and smooth, didn't
it? Yeah. Yeah. I actually looked at it this morning because I bought it. I forget when I bought it, but it might have been last night or something. But because they sent it to me, and then I was like, all right, I couldn't figure out where to buy it, and then they was like, oh, it's on crypto.com or something like that. So I was like, all right, cool. So I'm looking through because I got a bunch of exchanges. Mm-hmm. I have accounts everywhere. So I'm going through my accounts. I'm looking for it. I finally find it, and then I'm trying to buy it, and then I'm having an issue buying it. Just because it's like there's like minimums for the buy or something. It was weird. So I finally get an order in, and it was kind of like Safe Moon. It's so cheap that it's like, you put in a little bit of money and you get so many millions of coins. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Hopefully this will turn into Doge and it runs up to 40 cents, and and then I'll retire.
Man, so
I got like 15
million.
No, not 15 million of this one. I think that was Safe Moon. I got 15 million of. I think this one was like 6 million.
Okay. So so you used crypto.com? Because actually I want to get some tonight because I keep hearing about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was crypto.com that I got it on.
Crypto.com. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can just buy it outright? Do you have to go through, buy this?
No. You just buy it. You just buy it outright. But that, like I said, that was the only thing. It was weird how the amounts worked. You couldn't just be like, give me a coin, whatever. It was. It took a little bit of work just figuring out the numbers.
Okay.
To just get the order to go through. But
is it still at fractions of a penny right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's up a decent amount from where I bought it, but it's still fractions of a penny.
you ain't right for that, kids. That ain't even right.
Yeah. I mean, it could dip, and then I'll let you know that there's poison in the food. But
don't even worry about it. I'm gonna check for the poison myself when we get off this pod. Trust me. I'm gonna take care of that because I'm on a real note. I'm seeing a lot about Shiba. I'm looking at a story now that came out this morning, actually. Dogecoin killer Shiba Inu, which is the crypto we're talking about, adds 11 billion to Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin's net worth.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting what they did. They sent him 50% of the supply with the assumption that he'll hold.
Okay. But he chose not to hold? Is that
no, he's holding. Okay. But the whole thing is, it's like, instead of burning it, because that's another thing they could do, is they, with cryptos, they'll do a burn.
Safe Moon does a lot of that. That's thing.
Yeah. That's part of the whole transaction with the gas fees, right? They take part of it and burn it.
Okay.
Right? So if you decide to sell, because with Safe Moon, the whole intention is for you to hold. That's what they want you to do. Yep. If you sell, your gas fees are 10%. So that's for you to get on the bus, basically, for you to get your transaction processed, it's going to cost you 10% gas fees. And then I think they take 2.5% or 5% of that and just burn it.
Okay.
And then another 2.5% or 5% goes to Binance, which is why, that was the thing I brought up before about Binance, it being a catalyst for Binance.
Right. Exactly.
And then another
going up too.
It's been going up like crazy, and I wonder if that has to do with Safe Moon. And then a part of it goes to a part of it goes back to the other holders of Safe Moon.
Exactly. Yep. So if you're still holding, you'll get some of that gas fee.
Right. Yeah.
Which is kind of and that's the added incentive for people to hold. Because every time somebody sells, you're now going to get a percentage of that gas fee.
Right. You know, which that's a very interesting way to do it. But
it's an interesting concept, definitely.
Yeah. With Shiba, so immediately they gave him 50% of the supply. I don't know if it's deflationary or inflationary. So I don't know if there's a limited supply or unlimited. But they gave him 50% of the supply.
I feel like I heard there was a limited supply.
Okay, because I know so the big thing with him, he's the creator of Ethereum. I want to say he's still holding all of his Ethereum. But I just find it weird that instead of burning it, that was their thing, was we're going to give it to somebody and trust that they're not going to just put it on the market.
Exactly.
You know, that's interesting.
It's a lot of faith they're putting into that transaction.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of faith. So, I mean, if I really believed in Shiba, then I'd be looking for him to, I'd be like, yo, let me get him out of here. So that way I don't have to worry about, him cashing out.
Right.
You know, but, yeah, I don't know about that one. That seemed weird to me, especially if somebody, that's tempting. If somebody, all of a sudden your net worth goes up $11 billion.
But it's $11 billion on paper, correct?
On paper.
Okay, so it's not actual.
It's not actual.
Just yet. Yeah.
Right. But, I mean, you could, obviously, if you dump that 11 billion worth on the market, then it's going to tank.
Mm-hmm.
But you could start slowly moving that into the market. I know that there's, the one thing about cryptos is, you can look at wallet addresses and see what they're doing, see what they're moving. So, and I saw somebody mention, they brought up his, I'm assuming it was his wallet number or something, and they said it's sitting there. So I'm assuming you could see what his holdings are and if he moves them.
Really?
So yeah, so maybe that's the whole thing. It's like if he starts moving them from there, then Shiba would tank, which would make it pointless to do in the first place.
Right.
So I'm curious about the whole thing, but that's interesting. But the fact that they're putting that faith in him, I mean, hopefully he holds and hopefully it actually does something. Hopefully it goes to it does Doge numbers.
Man, it does Doge numbers. We on yachts, cuz.
Yeah, we're chilling
at your expense.
Yeah, you ain't even gotta do nothing. You ain't gotta buy nothing. You ain't, I'd be like, there's no poison on this boat.
All eating good, eating healthy. I'm not mad at it. There's one thing I wanted to say with regards to this gas fee. Actually, we're gonna table the gas fee. When it comes to looking at people's wallets, because that's something you said that caught my attention. How can I go about looking if I want to look at
no clue
that owns Ethereum?
No clue. One day, at some point we got to get somebody on who knows crypto. I mean, the market like that. Who knows how to look at this stuff? Because I be seeing people talking about it, and I mean, there's even I was looking at something the other day. I saw something in my feed about a whale alert, and they were talking about people moving large amounts of Bitcoin or Ethereum, from different wallets. So with crypto, even though it's decentralized, you can see what's going on the blockchain, right? So you can see what's going on these different wallets, even though you might not know whose wallet it is, right?
Oh, so you can't actually pinpoint whose it is. You can just see the wallet.
Right. I don't know why they're saying that this person's wallet is his wallet. Maybe it's because it's holding 50% of Shiba.
Right.
They say that's his wallet, but
that's deductive reasoning. You can kind of just...
Yeah, that would make sense, right?
That. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that's why they said that. But I know you can see the wallets and what's with the holdings. There's some way to see it. I don't know how to do all that, but so there's people that actually look for it. So they see when there's large amounts of Bitcoin moving, Ethereum moving, stuff like that. When people are moving them from their wallets to the exchanges or moving off of the exchanges into these wallets, there's people watching all that.
Right.
You know, and it makes sense because those are the market makers. Those are the people who could change the direction of your investment.
I mean, it's similar to how you can go on Yahoo Finance, and if you're looking up a company that you want to invest in the stock, you can take a look and see, well, what are the institutional holders?
Yeah.
Who are the big companies that own this stock? Because if you see that, you know, this big mutual fund holding or this big institutional investor, like, you know, Warren Buffett's company or Bank of America, a lot of these big boys own millions of shares of a small company. That's something you might want to look into. Like, okay, the big boys own this. I might want to dump some money into it, or at least stick my toes in there and see what happens.
Yeah.
So it's the same. It's interesting because this whole crypto wave is a whole new experience for everyone, but we're slowly finding similarities with the stocks and the cryptos. And this is just another one that I'm really just hearing about as we're talking about it. I didn't know you could take a look at people's crypto wallets, and especially these heavy hitters, and see what they're doing. So it's very similar and it's interesting. And I'm also wondering if this is a thing where you can do some digging on Reddit, and Reddit will somehow, you know, if you kind of get lost in that rabbit hole of Reddit, you can find out whose wallet is whose and how I can get the information.
I mean, if somebody knows, I wouldn't be surprised if it's on Reddit, you know, because I mean, that is the social media of social medias for that type of stuff. So if you get into the right groups on Reddit and they're talking about it, you may find that the person or persons that understand how to look at these things, and they probably present it to everyone else. You know, they're probably letting everybody know.
Today's episode is brought to you by Nice Touch Editing Services. Nice Touch Editing is your one-stop shop solution for all of your content writing and editing needs. Whether you're an author looking for an editor for your book manuscript, you need a resume and cover letter to go after that new job opportunity, or if you're a small business looking to go after that latest government contract, Nice Touch Editing is the premier writing and editing solution. Feel free to reach out, www.nicetouchediting.com. Nice Touch Editing Services. Now that's a nice touch.
You know, one thing being a part of that smart money investment crew, you've got to know kind of where to get those research, those nuggets. You got to, you know, check out the Stocks and Talking podcast with Ibn Getz, of course. We're on Facebook, Stocks and Talking podcast with Ibn Getz. Hit us on IG, ib_Getz_podcast. But Reddit, that's another one of those things for the smart money investor. If you want to get some nuggets that are a little underground that might hit the news before the news comes out, because you want to buy that rumor, you would love to buy the rumor before it became a rumor. I feel like a platform like Reddit is where you can find those nuggets, those rumors before the rumor. You know?
Yeah, Reddit definitely that's turned into the spot. That's like the club right now. You get in the Reddit. You find the right group in Reddit, and you know, whether it's GameStop, AMC, you know, Doge, whatever it may be, you know, you get early on some of this stuff and be a part of that movement. You know, you got to watch out for the bots and stuff like that, you know, because now that it's a thing, now that people are looking at Reddit, I mean, you're going to have people that try to manipulate it. But but if you're, you know, with the following along with what the masses of those groups are telling you, and you got to make your decision on your own. What's best for you. But there's been some winners. They've done some amazing things.
Just getting the info.
Right? Yeah. I mean, look at what happened with GameStop. I mean, you look at what happened with Doge. I mean, that turned into a thing. When they say they're gonna do something, I mean, not all the time, but sometimes they do it.
It's done. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, are there any? Because I'm actually not on Reddit. I need to get on there because I'm familiar, and I have a few friends that tell me, "Hey, I went down the Reddit rabbit hole," which is how I came across SafeMoon, which is now like one of those hot meme coins. That SafeMoon, I just saw they got a billboard in New York City right now.
Really?
Yes. So SafeMoon is definitely trying to build its respect up and really make a name for itself.
Right.
If you have a billboard in Times Square in New York City, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. You need to go take a picture of it and post it for us.
Word, I think I will. We might take it right up there tomorrow because that's big. But I say all that to say I got that from a homeboy who was on Reddit. He's like, man, I went down that Reddit rabbit hole, and SafeMoon is one of those things where it could turn into something.
Right.
So, and for me, especially with the cryptos, I take tips. I have my ear to the street, to the stocks, to the cryptos, and when I hear things, that's how I heard of Shiba. I'm hearing about Shiba in these different Facebook groups. I'm hearing friends talk about it. Now I do a little research. Okay, what's Shiba about? That's how I came across that little news nugget that I put out there about the cat who owns Ethereum and how he just got X amount of shares or X amount of Shiba that they just want him to sit on.
Right.
That all just comes from digging after I hear one little piece of news. So that's just something that if you're interested in crypto or stocks, you want to do your due diligence and your research, but that due diligence and research can start with just a tip from somebody who has experience. You don't want a tip from somebody who knows nothing like you. Just being honest. You want a tip from somebody that's been doing it, that is doing some Reddit rabbit hole researching. Get your tip from somebody that's doing the research.
Yeah.
And then you start doing your own research to compile onto it.
Yeah. I mean, it is good to hear it from the masses though.
Mm-hmm.
Because that also just lets you know where, let's say SafeMoon theoretically or Shiba, right, or Doge, they have no utility, no nothing, right? Then they're technically they have no purpose, right? If you were in Reddit, maybe you would have heard it early.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not, so So now you have to be careful because you have to figure out if you're at that place of parity where it's already everywhere, right?
Exactly.
It's still buying the rumor and selling the news. When you say it, people think well they got to see it on NBC, but no, that's not the case. So it's just when is it everywhere? When's everybody talking about it? So when you are, if you happen to go and sit at a bus stop and some old head walks up and he starts talking about SafeMoon, for me, I might sell it.
Yeah,
because
okay.
All right,
at that point, it's out there.
It's out there, and people who don't understand, they don't even know how to work a computer, they don't even know nothing about the internet. If they're like, yeah, I'm buying SafeMoon, I might be like, all right, cool, well, I'm gonna go ahead and you can buy my SafeMoon, right? So even that, just hearing it from those random people, when that person starts talking about it who knows nothing about investing,
right,
crypto, stocks, they know nothing about none of that stuff. and they're like, yeah, I just put $1,000 into this, you know, because so and so said something, and then they start trying to recite, you know, things that they heard, and you know, especially when they start trying to recite things that they heard, and the things they're saying, you know, are wrong. You know, and it's like, all right, yeah, I'm done. I came, I saw, I conquered, you know, and you can have it now. You know,
that's interesting, guys.
Hold this bag for me.
What? Oh, don't do that. Don't give them the bag. That ain't right. But I'm thinking, if you start hearing people that aren't into the cryptos of the stock world, they now have that particular crypto on their mind and they're reciting it to you, I would think that would make you want to buy more of it, because now maybe that thing's about to take off because it's just everybody knows. But you're saying the exact opposite. Like, if everybody knows, I don't want a part of it.
Right, because it's one thing if one person comes to you. It's another when you're hearing it everywhere. There are certain times when I'll hear, you know, people talking about. I mean, same thing. You know, we talk about, you know, buy when others are fearful. You know, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. When you have a market like we had last year, that's just been on a run, right?
Right.
And then you get to a point where you have all these people randomly throughout your day come and start talking to you about investing, about what they're buying and what they heard, and they don't know nothing. They're reciting news articles and everything else. Well, all right. Well, now we're at a place where now's the point where, especially hopefully you got in early,
right,
and you've made your money, and now you're at that point where, you know, this is the news.
Right.
We're at that point now. So it's not about just one person mentioning it. It's about when you see it's a common theme around you. You know, when everybody's talking about just, you know, same thing, Bitcoin. Everybody was talking about Bitcoin, right? Now Bitcoin can't get out of its own way. You know? It's
definitely been kind of trading sideways the last couple of weeks, I feel like.
Yeah, it's been trading sideways. I mean, it's even just 60 is the new black. 60 is the resistance, right?
It's a major resistance for it right now.
So, and you keep seeing when it comes down to about 54.
Yep.
Right? So, because you had all these people who seen it hit a high number, hit this crazy number, they ignored it all the way up. And then it hit this number, and now everybody's like, oh my God, I gotta buy some Bitcoin, right? And then now you've seen it start coming down, and then, you know, but then you have these pumpers, you have these people, because now it's on the news and everything, right? All the time. So they go on the news, you know, it's gonna go to $1 million. It's gonna go to $200,000. It's gonna go to $400,000, right? This is the thing now, right? This is why I hate the news. So they go in there, they pump it, and then you'll go out in the world, and a bunch of people, they'll be reciting those things. I heard Bitcoin's gonna go to $1 million. I just spent $500 on it, and you're like, oh my God, man! Like, you know, or Bitcoin's gonna go to $400,000 before the end of the year. It very well could.
Right.
But if you're trading it, now's the time where you're like, all right, I got mine. I'm gonna go ahead and let this go. And maybe you do want to invest, but you know, maybe there's still a trade there. You know, it's like you got to look at that you know, the rumor in the news.
Yep.
If you're holding and you're an investor, and it's like, all right, just know that when people start coming to you for that, you know, when the old head walks up, you know, with his cane and he starts talking about it, and you know, and he's still got a flip phone, but he's talking about Bitcoin
and Doge.
Yeah, then you be like, all right, I'm in for some pain. Like, here's what it is. I just got to get through this, and you know, everything gonna be all right.
Yeah, I just got to stop looking at it for a while,
and I got to stop talking to this dude.
Yeah. Hey man, old heads need crypto money too, man.
Yeah, they do. They do. You know? They do. But it's just about realizing what you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You know?
putting all those context clues together to make smart money decisions.
Right. I mean, didn't you? Matter of fact, to bring it back, the other day you mentioned something about you walked into a barbershop or something, and dudes was talking about it.
I did actually. Yes, it was a cat. I was in the chair getting my my little taper on the side, and cat came in real excited, like, hey, talking to my barber. Hey, did you get in on Doge? And I'm like, okay. And he was like super excited that he was like, I got in at 32 cents. Not even Saturday yet, because again, everybody was hype about Elon hitting SNL, right. So they were excited about it. And I ain't gonna hold you. As I was walking out, I was like, yo, Safe Moon. And then he was like, oh, Safe Moon, yeah, I heard about it. And I was surprised everyone in the shop had heard about Safe Moon. Yeah, and everybody was like, how did you buy it? and I kind of walked through the whole Trust Wallet, pancake swap, and they were familiar. I was like, yeah, you got to do the pancake swap and the transfer. And I was like, yeah, that's what you got to go through. But I was just surprised to see that they knew about Safe Moon. Yeah. Like, it's really becoming a thing. At first it was just something that one of my homeboys said. He went down the Reddit rabbit hole, heard about this one Safe Moon like a month ago. Right. I jumped in. Now I just saw it was a player for the New Orleans Pelicans, I believe, Josh Hart, put a tweet out. I need to find out how I can buy Safe Moon. I was like, yo, that's pretty big, because this dude got hundreds of thousands of followers.
Right.
So I feel like that's just gonna add fuel to this potential Safe Moon explosion, or at least what I'm hoping, because I'm in on it. Yeah, I would love to see it happen.
That's what you hope, and I mean, but and even with that, the same thing. It's like, you see that tweet, or you see, I think it was Meek Mill put something out like, I'm tired of missing out, and then he
dropped like 50 racks on Doge.
Yeah, it's like so, but I look at him the same way like the old man. If we already at this point, it's so high, and you sending out, you gotta send out, this tweet or whatever. Which, I mean, it's one thing if you are already holding and you just like, yo, let me get a little pump in, right? And maybe it's gonna go up a little bit. But you got these people who just have no clue, and now they're all trying to get into the market. Well, what's going to happen if you got a bunch of people trying to get in the market, especially before Saturday, before SNL? That run up. So you had to run up, and what happened at the end of it? It came back down.
Yeah, the news hit.
Yeah,
Elon was on SNL, and then his every word got dissected.
Right.
And people didn't like every single thing that they heard. So, boom.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people who have no clue what they're doing, or they don't know. They didn't make a decision ahead of time what kind of investor or trader they were, who they were, right?
Yep.
So they're sitting on it because they're just like, I heard it's going to $1.
They were get rich quickers. Right. I'm gonna jump in on this at 60 cents right now, because I'm thinking it's gonna go to $1 come Saturday.
Yeah. And then and there's somebody on the other side who's like, I just get rich.
Right.
And they were selling. It is what it is.
So I mean, but it's just that tale of the different faces, the different shades, the different sides of investing. All with that Doge and SNL. It shows you who are your traders that are in and out, who are your long-term holders, who are your folks that have no idea what they're doing, and they're just kind of going along with the trend and jumped in, and now they're just selling because they didn't make $1 million Saturday night.
Right.
You have people like me, again, I'm sitting, I'm holding, I'm confident, not because I'm speculative that it'll make me millions. I'm just looking at the utility, and I'm looking at all these different institutions and companies accepting this Doge as a currency. That's good enough for me to say I'm gonna just hold on to this. Because what is that gonna look like 5 years from now? Because right now Doge is at 40 cents, but it's Elon Musk is about to send a damn spaceship to the moon, strictly off of a Doge purchases, or Doge, pumping in on that. So why would I sell? That's my logic, my thought process.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, you can be a long-term investor and still trade it daily. Like, you know what? It came down 20 cents. I'll buy in, and when it goes up 21 cents, I'll sell that amount of shares that I bought. But I'm still holding long-term. So I mean, so many different ways to play it.
And then you could take the profits from that, and you can add it to your holdings.
Mm-hmm.
You could be buying more. You know, if you're really if your conviction's that high.
Yep.
You know, you can do that. There's a bunch of ways to play. It's the same thing like I talk about Home Depot, and that's what I used to do with Home Depot. You know, I have a holding, but I'm also trading the options. In those options, and every time I take profit on the options, I'm buying more shares. Every time they pay me a dividend, I'm buying more shares. You know, that's because of my conviction on the company.
And that's the definition of allowing your money to make money for you. You get paid from a company dividends, then you put those dividends back into the stock for it to go up, or you make a little money off the option and put more money into the stock so that your dividend increases. And then when you get paid the dividend, you put more money into the stock. Like it's a crazy cycle once you get that game plan down.
Yeah, compound interest.
Compound interest, you know?
Yeah, you beating the bank and you're getting that compound interest.
And that's the major key we want to do. And that's something that they're not teaching us in school, Gets. At least not us. They're not teaching the people that look like us.
Not in this country.
About beating the banks or financial literacy or taxes, stocks, none of that. I feel like we were always taught, come in, get a job, retire eventually, and that's pretty much it. They don't tell you anything about this whole other side to America and the country and the world of people making money with their own money and being wealthy and passing that down to generations.
Our school system here is take this standardized test so we can get our funding.
Facts.
And get out.
Facts.
You know?
Facts. And good luck while you're out there in the world.
Right.
Hope it works out for you.
Yeah, it probably won't. And, but the system's designed to support you. And that's what it is. You know? I mean, stimulus and all this other stuff. It's nice to get a stimulus check and all that, but it's just the gateway to a universal income. The way they've done the unemployment, everything. That's all it is. It just
it's
I ain't
cycle.
gonna get it. It's
a cycle that repeats itself with different faces.
Right. Yeah. When you could be, investing in yourself, even if you with your stimulus check, with your tax return, with whatever it may be, you could be investing in yourself, and you could get to the level of the Buffetts, the Bill Gates, and everything like that. Because there are those people. I read a story a little while ago about a guy. He was like a janitor or something, and he invested. He invested everything he could. He lived, well below his means. Did nothing but just invest his money, something very low risk. It wasn't like mutual funds or nothing. It was in the market. Okay. But his investments, he made educated investments, and he ended up worth $1 billion.
Dang. Who?
But
you remember the name?
I don't remember his name. If I could find it, then I'll send it to you and we could post it up or something. But this is somebody who, it's like, he didn't come from a wealthy family. He didn't, do anything crazy. He didn't start a company. It was just investing wisely, investing in himself.
Was it Carlos Slim? Does that name sound familiar?
No, yeah, I know who Carlos Slim is, but it wasn't Carlos Slim.
Okay. Hey, everybody out there, Google Carlos Slim. Good story. Wealthy cat, just investing early on in like low hanging fruit stocks. Yeah. Pennies on the dollar, and became a millionaire, wealthy.
Right.
But Carlos Slim is key. But yeah, let me know if you find out who this story was about, because I love reading stuff like that.
I'll definitely look into it. But yeah, it's like, it's not unattainable, and you don't need to be a billionaire to be comfortable. You know, I mean, and I always, one thing that I've always said is being comfortable is being complacent, but there comes a point where where enough should be enough. We have a tendency as people for that to not be the case, but I mean, there should be a point where you can just be happy and just
happy and stress-free, debt-free.
And it's not all about the money, but it's let's take that off your back.
Exactly.
You may have other issues, but take that off your back. And if you're investing and just investing and reinvesting and living by that compound interest way of living, it's going to get to a point where you have your retirement and things like that. That's all there is to it.
Today's episode is brought to you by PT Solutions. PT Solutions is a business consulting firm offering innovative solutions to help strengthen your business. Now, what does that mean? It means infrastructure. It means support. It means coaching. It means development. It means advertisement. It means ensuring that your company gets to where the money resides. Contact PT Solutions today to get started. www.dcbizpros.com. The end of the day we started this podcast because we love talking about investments. We feel like we kind of bounce a lot of good ideas back and forth off each other. So we're like, let's just give this to the people, We don't see a lot of this where it's people who look like us, sound like us, talk like us, giving game like this, We talked about how the school system, they're not teaching our kids about an investment, about a stock, about an option, about financial literacy. Like I said, they're not teaching us about none of that. So we jumped on Stocks is Talking podcast with Ibn Getz to give game to everybody. We want to give game to our people's people who then give it to their children. At the end of the day, we got to start somewhere. If the school system's not going to give us that game, we got to give it to ourselves. And I feel and I hope that eventually, as we continue to grow and develop, we're going to kind of be that hub where there's going to be kids 12, 13 years old talking about coming up to us. Hey, I heard about XYZ and I just told my daddy to put $10 in so I can invest. That's the end game. That's what we want to do.
Or creating that hub.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All that. Like, we want to be able to teach people about PE ratios, about high multiples, about what you're really looking for in the stock. I mean, how many people know what a PE ratio is?
Real talk. Yeah. Yeah, that's, not many, I would assume, because, it's something that most people ain't talking about, And in a market like where we're at right now, it matters. Look at these companies with these high multiples. You see the market, you see part of the market tanking. Not the whole market. Because you can look at the Dow and be like, all right, the Dow is doing fine. And then you look at the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ is hurt. But what's the NASDAQ? The NASDAQ is tech, for the most part, right? And what is tech? Tech is high multiples. Tech is, those high, PE ratios. And that's, you're talking about, you're looking at the market's supposed to be looking forward. So over the past year that we've had all these stay-at-home plays and this and that, whatever you want to call them, right? They were growing like crazy. Get to a point where you have stocks that are trading, at 100 times earnings. So they're trading at, basically it's 100 times what their earnings are now. Because they're expected to continue with the high growth. You know, you got a company that's growing at 100. You know, they're basically doubling every year. You know, with their earnings, what they're making every year is doubling. You know, or it might be every quarter, right? And people are rewarding them by saying, "Well, we expect that to continue for the next couple of years, right?
Continuous growth,
right?" But well, what if they don't? And you know, if especially a company that's not making any money, you know, look at Netflix. Netflix just became profitable. Netflix has been around for years, but they weren't profitable. So that means people had to continue investing money into the company to keep the company running. Think about as big as Netflix is. If people had
finally
said
turned a profit.
Yeah, imagine if people said, "We're not giving you no more money." Imagine you go to Netflix and chill, and Netflix don't turn on. Like there's no more Netflix because nobody was making any money.
Right.
But they did. So they finally got to a point where they're profitable.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of other companies who are not.
And that's crazy because for the average person that's watching Netflix or the average beginner investor, you would never imagine in a million years that Netflix that you use on a daily basis, a lot of us, just started turning a profit recently.
Yeah. They got more debt than you.
And that's a lot of debt. Don't do me like that.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, a lot of these companies, it is. But we live in a low interest rate environment, right? So money costs money. You go, you finance a car, you get a mortgage on a house, right? Money costs money, right? That's what you're paying for. You wanted to buy a house with a 30-year mortgage, and you put down 20%. You finance the other 80%. You're right, but there's an interest rate associated with it. Over the past year, the interest rate went down to what? You know, I think I've known people who got it as low as like 2.1, right? So 2.1. So that means, all right, that 80% of that money that you borrowed, let's say it was, you know, you borrowed $400,000. Your cost for that money is 2.1% of that money.
Okay.
Right? So money costs money. People look at it wrong. They're like, all right, you know, this is my house and it cost me, you know, $400,000. No, it didn't cost. It's not $400,000 because money costs money. That's the original asking price of the house. That might be what you offered for the house, but at the end of the day, that's not what you're gonna pay because you got a 30-year mortgage. And they're going to take interest payments for the first 10 years or whatever it may be, right?
Right. You don't even start paying on the house itself.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they'll take, you know, a couple dollars, you know, every month and put it towards it, but most of the money is going to go towards interest. You know, in 10 years,
costs money.
Costs money.
Put that shit on the t-shirt, cuz. Sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so that's what it is. So it's the same thing with these companies, right? So now we're at a point where now the economy is opening back up, or the country is opening back up. So these companies that made all this money because the economy was closed, people are assuming that they're not going to make the same money. At the same time, we have inflation. Right, so the value of the dollar is going down. What it buys you is going down, right? Yep. So, and you had the what was it, the Evergreen or whatever it was, the ship that got stuck.
So over in the yep, I remember that.
Yeah, so okay, so first you had COVID, right? Everything shut down because of COVID. So the supply was limited because of COVID, and then. You had a ship get stuck a month ago, whatever that was.
Yeah, so that tied up a lot of goods.
Right.
To and from.
Right. So, but it still costs money. While that ship is sitting there, it's costing money. So if you think you ain't gonna pay for that, you're mistaken. But whatever. And then you got the gas pipeline that just got hacked, right? So that got hacked. The gas pipeline is shut down.
I heard about that recently.
Right. So you're gonna pay for that. These are all points of inflation. If you look at commodities, look at lumber, look at metals, look at I think it's look at copper, look at what's the big one right now? I think it's rhodium. I think it is. You find it in catalytic converters. People are cutting catalytic converters out because it's worth so much money. It's one of the most expensive metals out there right now, right? So this is all inflation. So you have all these forms of inflation. So with inflation, you have the Fed, and the Fed, how they use interest rates to control inflation. So if inflation is out of control, I think I read somewhere the other day, they said the price of lumber is so high, it adds another $30,000 to the price of a home right now. Wow. If you want to build a house. Right? And I actually know somebody who was building a house recently, and they were talking about how crazy it was. And they had already started before all this. The house is already being built, so they're in a box now. They can't just. What are they going to do? Say stop? Yeah, right. So, but they had to pay that. It was
premium.
It was like 4 times what it used to be, something like that. They had to pay it because it's like, all right, we just got to get this house done,
right?
But what if you can't? So you have this crazy inflation. So the Fed says, all right, we're not going to raise rates. But if inflation is crazy, the way to combat it is with higher interest rates. That's how you get things to cool off. People stop borrowing so much. As long as money costs close to nothing, it's still going to cost you something. But as long as it costs close to nothing, companies and people will borrow. Right?
And borrow and borrow and borrow.
Right. And which is crazy because the funny thing is the bank will choose not to give to the people, but it's going to keep giving to the companies.
Of course.
That's part of the game, right?
Of course.
So you have all these companies who their earnings are in the negative, and the banks keep giving them money. But now interest rates start going up. Well, if interest rates are going up, the company's money costs more money. So it's going to take them longer to get to a positive earnings.
Right.
So they were being rewarded for what they were doing last year for the high growth. Now they're being reprimanded for not turning a profit.
They'll get you either way.
Right. So now you see all these stocks, they're getting hit hard.
The markets have been choppy for a while.
Yeah.
For a good month or so. I mean, I know I've been focusing a lot on the crypto, but I do see how the Dows are looking, the S&P, the Nasdaq's looking. I've been seeing a lot of red.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Those are buying opportunities if you know what to look for.
Right.
Because, and the big boys are dropping. I'm looking at Tesla's down to 629.
Yeah. I was looking at their chart today, and I was like, man, I was like, they could go back into the 5s.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're a high.
Them at 100.
They're a high multiple. Yeah. So you good. I can't see them going that far down, but they're a company that's trading at a high multiple, right? When you say a high multiple, what do you mean by that? Yeah, their earnings, if you look at their earnings and what they're trading at, it's a multiple of their earnings. So basically, they're trading at, what people are expecting them to be worth in 3 years or 5 years, right? But they're not there yet. Right. And if you go back and you listen to the earnings call, and you look at their earnings numbers, it was actually pretty bad. You know, the numbers, if you just glanced at it, the numbers didn't look bad.
Right.
But if you actually listen to it, it actually wasn't good at all because they didn't actually make any money. The numbers that came out said that they made money, but they technically didn't make money on their own. They made money because they sold Bitcoin and because they got regulatory credits. So they didn't actually selling cars or selling solar panels or anything else, right? Which, you know, and people will take that and play it, depending on whether you're bullish or bearish, people will take that and play it however they want to. But at the end of the day, you have the numbers. And
I wonder if they did that intentionally. Like, we're going to sell all, you know, we're going to do these other things to kind of mask the fact that we made no money.
Yeah, I don't know. But I know the one thing that I did find very interesting, and I think they actually mentioned it during the call. I was listening to it. They sold a little bit of Bitcoin, right? But it was to prove the liquidity of it.
Okay.
Which
so they want to show that you could pull cash out from it.
Yeah, because they're using it because they have their, you know, their cash, right? Every company, you know, well, most companies, they have a certain amount of cash, and they set it aside and then put it in treasury bonds or whatever. They're doing that. They put it into Bitcoin. So, but the whole thing is that cash has to be liquid. You have to be able to get it back when you need it.
Right.
So they sold a small amount to prove that it was liquid, that they could get it when they need it.
That was okay.
Which I have no issue with.
Yeah.
No issue with that at all. But it does affect how the numbers look. You know, so they sell so much Bitcoin and they get the regulatory credits. So it's like, technically, all right, if you take those things out, then they lost money.
With those things added.
With those things added, they made money, and it was, I think, their best quarter ever.
Yeah. I feel like we posted that on the socials.
Yeah.
About their earnings. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing I don't agree with, because if that's the case, then at least say that.
Right, because those numbers are skewed.
Right.
You really didn't post your best earnings. You just got some cash from your Bitcoin holdings. Right.
So at least say, you know, the company for our operating, you know, the profit from the company operating was in the negative. We came out with a profit because of these things, because we made wise decisions.
Yep.
You know, because, I mean, one of them is just because we started an electric car company. So we get regulatory credits, right? That was a wise decision. We could have started a regular car company and we wouldn't have got nothing, but we started an electric car company. So we get regulatory credits. All right, cool. The other is we made the wise decision to invest in Bitcoin. And it appreciated, and now we sold a little bit, and, you know, at least say it.
Right.
But I feel like that's not how it was put out there.
Of course not, because they didn't want it out like that.
Right.
They wanted that big. They want the grandstand and show that they just had their best quarter ever.
Right.
Put that in the news.
Yeah.
And it takes for someone like you to really do the digging.
Yeah. And it was
really up.
It came out. You know, it came out. You know, depending on who you listen to or talk to, and I listen to both sides of it. And as much as I love Tesla, when I actually sat and listened to the call and everything, I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling this numbers. You know, I'm like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the numbers. You know, and I'm like, all right, well, let me sit down with the calculator and, you know, hope that it has too many zeros.
Right.
Because it's in the, you know, the billions. You know, I'm sitting down going over the numbers and I'm like, all right, yeah, nah, they're in the red. You know, hopefully they fix it soon, but it makes you rethink the investment. You know,
or it might make you rethink how to invest, because if you think the numbers are really bad and they're about to really be on a downward trajectory, for me, I'm now thinking put options. If it's going to keep dropping, let me go on and get some puts to take advantage of the dip.
Yeah. And then if you still like the company, you could take the profit from that and then invest in the company later.
Yep.
Yeah. Once they flatten out, they go into consolidation, whatever it may be, and you take that money, put it back into the company. You're absolutely right.
Real talk, I think I'm looking at, now that we're having this convo, and again, we did this on Netflix a few weeks ago.
We did.
Remember about their earnings and how they had too much competition. They were going to fail on earnings, and I said I want to look into some puts, and I did not. We just had this little discussion about Tesla and their numbers and how they're trying to skew things, and I'm looking at them now. They're down to $629. Well, how low can you go?
Right.
And can I be a part of it? So I think I might look into some puts tomorrow just to see what the numbers are looking like.
Yeah, it might be. Like I said, I looked at them today, so it might be time to start. To start setting up the drawings on charts and figuring out where they're gonna go to. Because like I said, I think they might go back into the fives.
Well, if they go back into the fives, I'm just trying to ride that thing out with them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a couple of companies. I was looking at there's a company today, Palantir. I was just talking about that I hit on the other day, but I didn't stay in it because there was a support level, and I said, my thing was, I'm not gonna wait until they hit the level and bounce. I'm gonna take my money and leave, and I'm gonna wait until they break the level. And if they break it, then I'll get back in and ride them down some more.
There you go. Okay.
And I was looking at them today, and they broke the level. So I said, all right, if they stay below that level, I'm gonna get back in there. And
what's that symbol?
PLTR.
I'm familiar. Yeah. Okay. You have mentioned them to me a few times, I think.
Yeah. I was like,
PLTR.
I seen they just broke it, so I was like, I'll go ahead and they got to hold below it. But if they hold below it, then I'll get back in it and I'll ride it down, and I'll take that money out and put it somewhere else. I'm not gonna put it into them because I don't know the company like that.
You don't have that conviction for a long-term hold. But you
Right.
got that conviction on what the chart's telling you that it might keep sliding for the moment.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm with you.
So
I'm tracking.
I'll get that check.
Yeah, let me know. And at the end of the day, though, me and you, we're not financial advisors. You feel me? We're just two cats that love investing. We love talking about it. At the end of the day, everybody out there, you've got to always do your due diligence before you get into the markets. Always trade at your own risk and do what's best for your portfolio. You got to do that,
Right.
And what'd you say?
Learn and grow.
Learn and grow. That's a major key. If you want to get in the markets and get your feet wet, learn and grow. Check us out. We're on Facebook, Stocks is Talking Podcast with Ib and Getz. We're on IG. You can hit us up, Ib_Getz_podcast. We're also on the Discord. We can come chat with us, chop it up live and direct. How can they reach us on the Discord, Getz?
Yeah, they gotta hit us on the social, get their invite, and then they can chop it up with us.
You can come chop it up with us, but at the end of the day, folks, we came, we saw, we conquered. That's it. That's all, folks.
We out.